Hello friends, I'm Joanna from the Stratford Early On Centre and I'm going to tell you a story today. But I don't have a book to tell you the story. I'm going to be using my hands. This is a told story and you're going to have to use your imagination to think about what the pictures might look like if it were a storybook. And for parents, even babies love this story because there's lots of movement and lots of tracking. And this is a story that you can tell anywhere. So, our story is about two friends, one named Mr. Wiggle and one named Mr. Waggle. If you would like to tell it along and do the story along with me, you need to get your hands up. All right, so over here on this hill was Mr. Wiggle. Mr. Wiggle, say hello. Hello, everybody. He hid back in his house. And over on top of this hill over here is Mr. Waggle. Mr. Waggle, say hello to everybody. Hello, everybody. He hid back inside too. All right, Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle lived on top of really tall hills. And one day, Mr. Wiggle wanted to go visit his friend, Mr. Waggle. So he opened the door. Can you open your door? He went outside and he closed the door. Pop. Now, there wasn't just one hill. There were 3 hills in between Mr. Wiggle's house and Mr. Waggle's house. So to get there, he had to go down the hill and up the hill, down the hill and up the hill, down the hill and up the hill, down the hill, and up the hill until he got to Mr. Waggle's house. And he knocked on the door. Can you help me knock on the door? Mr. Waggle, are you home? I didn't hear anything. Let's try knocking again. Mr. Waggle, are you home? Still nothing. I guess I better go home. Here we go, you ready? We go down the hill and up the hill, down the hill and up the hill, down the hill and up the hill, down the hill, and up the hill, until he got back to his house. So let's open the door. You ready? Go inside and close the door. Great. He was tired from all that walking up and down the hill that he decided to have a nap. Well, the next day, Mr. Waggle decided he wanted to go visit his friend, Mr. Wiggle. So he opened the door. You ready to help me? He went outside and he closed the door. And you're right, he has to go down the hill and up the hill, down the hill and up the hill, down the hill and up the hill, down the hill, and up the hill. He made it and he knocked on the door. Mr. Wiggle, are you home? No answer. Let's try knocking again. Mr. Wiggle, are you home? Still no answer. Maybe he's sleeping. Well, I guess it's time to go home. So he went down the hill and up the hill, 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 until he got back home. So he opened the door, he went inside, and he closed the door. And I think he fell asleep too. That's a lot of walking. I think they're both sleeping. Well, the next day, both Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle decided that they wanted to go visit each other. They were both disappointed that they didn't get to see each other. So they both opened the doors. You ready? They went outside and they closed the door. And they set out on their journey. You ready? Down the hill and up the hill, down the hill and up. Oh, they met in the middle at the top of the hill. Hello, Mr. Wiggle. Hello, Mr. Waggle. They had a lovely visit and then it was time to say goodbye. Goodbye, Mr. Waggle. Goodbye, Mr. Wiggle. And they went down the hill and up the hill, down the hill and up the hill. It was much shorter that time because they met in the middle. They opened the door, they went inside, and they closed the door. and they were both very happy to have a lovely visit. Oh, that was a lot of work going up and down all those hills. I hope you had fun. And if you're going to retell the story, maybe Mr. Wiggle or Mr. Waggle might go on an adventure when they meet in the middle. Or maybe you might add more hills to the middle that they have to go up and down each time. So the great part about told stories is they can be different every time you tell them. There's no right way to do it. So I hope you enjoyed our story today about Mr. Waggle, or Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. And for older kids, if you're teaching them about left and right, you could even make your hands Mr. Left and Mr. Right and tell the story that way. There's endless variations of how to tell it. So happy storytelling. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.